let's move along to Ohio State offering one of the top Notre Dame defensive recruits. So give us some insight on who the player was and how serious of a move are the Buckeyes making on this Irish commitment.
Yeah, so the Buckeyes offered, I want to say it was Sunday, a Don Schuler, Irvington, New Jersey, class of 2023 safety, a four-star prospect. Look, this isn't anything new. It's in terms of other schools recruiting. I think he's picked up offers from Alabama, Georgia, A&M. It's just, I mean, so many schools have offered a Don Schuler, but he hasn't really seemed to be very interested in any of those programs. I know over this, when I said maybe it was over the summer or back in the spring, actually, he took some trips with his high school team, like a little bus tour. But otherwise, he's been very solid with Notre Dame despite these offers from other schools. Again, he committed to the Irish August of 2021. So he's been committed for over a year at this point, and other schools have offered since that pledge. But the Ohio State one does feel a little different. Like, okay,
Hmm.
Ohio State is one that means a lot to him, but they're offering 2 months before National Signing Day. It to me, it feels like a little too late. Maybe Schuler is very affected by Notre Dame starting the season 3-3, and maybe that's gonna deter him from wanting to stick with the Irish. I don't know, but I like Notre Dame for sure. Maybe not for sure, because it's recruiting. You never know, but from what I'm told, Notre Dame sources still feel confident that'll stick with the Irish. But again, we'll have to see, Darren.
Just a moment ago, we talked about Love committing during the Stanford weekend. Putting aside Love's commitment, was there many other big storylines to come out of the recruiting weekend during the Notre Dame Stanford game?
Yeah, Darren, recruiting's really been heating up, and I have said this before on your show. I feel like there was a period there in August,
Yeah.
after the July commitments, it's just like kind of slow. We're doing these shows on Tuesdays. We're like, man, what are we going to talk about? It's heating up now. So a couple more items to talk about. We discussed some of the 2024 receivers who were on campus. Two more very notable players who I wanted to talk about. Chris Tarrick from Glen Ellen, Illinois, Glenbard West. Tarek actually told me he's close friends with Kane Williams, Notre Dame commit in 2024, because they're from the same area and grew up playing, Pee Wee ball together. But Tarek is a class of 2023 Wisconsin commit, pledged to the Badgers at the end of June. Well, Notre Dame lost a commitment from Elijah Page on the offensive line. They want to take a player to replace him who would be a fifth offensive lineman. And this one just makes sense. He's a Chicagoland kid, and Wisconsin doesn't have a head coach. You would think there's a pretty decent chance that they could get him. And they had him on campus over the weekend for an unofficial. He got in actually a little bit late. He had a game on Saturday afternoon. After that finished, got over to South Bend. So I think he missed the first quarter, but then he got to spend all day Sunday at Notre Dame, and by all accounts had a really good time and clicked with Harry Hiestand, Irish offensive line coach. But even all these things said, the young man loves Wisconsin, and kudos to him for committing to a school and being like, man, even though Notre Dame's coming in here and Wisconsin doesn't have a head coach, I'm still sticking with the Badgers. But that's for now. I don't know if come National Signing Day if that'll still be the case. Personally, my gut feeling says that Notre Dame's got a really good shot to pull off this flip, but still a lot more work to do. And then Notre Dame had 3 official visitors on campus over the weekend, a couple of commits, safety Ben Minnick from Ohio, and then the speedster running back / offensive athlete Dylan Edwards from Derby, Kansas. Those 2 guys committed to Notre Dame on campus. And then you had Brandon Hillman from Portsmouth, Virginia, Churchland High School, 6'1", 190-pound athlete, 3-star prospect. Irish are recruiting him as just a athlete who could play many different positions. He was on campus with his mom and high school head coach. Article has already been posted with Hillman's thoughts on it at blueandgold.com. I like the Irish to win the recruitment, Darren, but still more work to be done. Oklahoma offered on Monday. I'm hearing maybe he gets to Kentucky for an official sometime this fall. So some things to keep an eye on. But, even though Notre Dame is 3-3, and it just seems like every week I'm writing about some Notre Dame commit who's being pursued by other schools. I think the Irish are going to finish this recruiting class pretty strong.
This is probably the moment where we remind fans it's not always about the record when it comes to these kids. It is building relationships with the coaching staff. And even though the record isn't where anybody wants it to be right now, I think a lot of these kids believe in their talents and they believe they can be a part of the change of the football team to get them back on track. So I don't think anybody should panic at this point because I see online, oh my gosh, the Irish are going to lose 10 commitments, 12 commitments. I think we probably should pump the brakes on that right now.
Darren, you know the phrase, someone's such a good salesman they could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you need to be as a recruiter. Let's say Notre Dame's 5-1, 6-0 at this point. It's, hey, come be a part of this great football program, right? Hey, look what we're doing on the field. We're so great. Look at, this running back or this receiver, whatever the position they're recruiting at. Like, look at these guys. This is what you're going to do, right? Or Notre Dame's 3-3, and it's, man, we lost against Stanford. This sucks. But did you see our receivers? Or did you see our quarterbacks? Or did you see our linebackers? Like, we need you, and you can come play right away for this. This historic Brandon University, and so you've just got to be able to sell it. That's not to say you'd rather be losing. Obviously,
No.
the momentum of winning is going to help you more on the recruiting trail. And you can't go be 1-5 or, obviously, but 3-3, it's not having a major impact on recruiting. When you talk to these kids, the result of the games of a part of a season they're not even on the team for, it doesn't make a big impact.
2023 wide receiver Khalil Barnes picked up an offer from the Fighting Irish.
Intrigued, and I'm intrigued. This is an interesting one. Didn't see it coming. He's listed as a corner. He was committed to Wake Forest. He can play corner or receiver at the next level. So the Irish offered him last Thursday. Darren, this is Notre Dame's offered players recently where it's like, that you don't see it coming because you feel like Notre Dame's in a good position with some of these positions they're at, they're recruiting at, but they'll still offer. And I really think it's a matter of avoiding situations like last year with Amarion Walker and CJ Williams. It's you had 3 receiver commits and then you're down to 1 at the blink of an eye before National Signing Day and you have no one to recruit. So I think it's kind of a factor of that. So like I mentioned earlier in our show, Notre Dame is, I believe, in the pole position for Tayshawn Lyons from Northern California. If they land him, that would probably be the last receiver that they take in this cycle. But if not, you're already recruiting a really good player in Khalil Barnes from the, I believe that's Athens, Georgia area, Bogart, Georgia. So yeah, don't know a whole lot about him as a player, but in terms of his recruitment, again, Wake Forest decommits, and Clemson's recruit him and seems to be the leader for him right now.